Number 12, the Honourable Bill English.
Madam Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Justice and asks, does she stand by her statement in relation to the Electoral Finance Bill, quote, "This bill does not restrict free speech"? If so, why?
The Honourable Lynette King.
Madam Speaker, yes, and we're already seeing examples of people freely expressing their views in this election campaign. A good example is the untrue jibes about Dr Cullen's sexuality at Dr Nick Smith's campaign launch, which that member had no hesitation in joining in. So much for the clean campaign from John Key.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Bill English.
How can the Minister continue to defend the Electoral Finance Act when the New Zealand Law Society's Rule of Law Committee, which includes as a member the Deputy Solicitor General, said of the Act recently, quote, "It is an unwarranted intrusion on the right to freedom of political expression," and, quote, "It is fundamentally flawed and misconceived and ought to be repealed." And why should we regard her opinion on this as more valid than theirs?
The Honourable Lynette King.
Madam Speaker, the New Zealand Law Society are exercising their right to free speech.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Bill English.
Well, under the law, they'd have to register to do that. What does the Minister think? What does the Minister think of the comments by her? What does the Minister think of the comment by her cabinet colleague Jim Anderton, who is now subject to 2 police investigations under the Electoral Finance Act, when he said that complying with the law is an extraordinary waste of everyone's time? And was Mr Anderton not at the Cabinet discussions about this law?
The Honourable Lynette King.
Speaker, Jim Anderton is entitled to also have free speech, and he is allowed to make what comments he wishes. In the end, it's up to the Electoral Commission. But I think that member probably has distorted what Jim Anderton said.
Supplementary question, the Honourable Bill English.
Does she stand by her rather obvious statement that she is not an expert on this law, but the Electoral Commission is? And what does she think about the expert opinion of the Chief Executive of the Electoral Commission when she said, quote, "It is clear that having uncertainty remaining within the regulated period has had a chilling effect on the extent and type of participation in political and campaign activity"? And the Chief Executive of the Electoral Commission who also said, quote, "The meanings of significant sections of this legislation are obscure."
The Honourable Lynette King.
Speaker, Dr Cat is independent and she can hold her own views. However, I would point out to the member that free speech is available and able in this campaign. I think you can see it from these very hoardings that have been put up around Wellington. There's quite a number of them. They're allowed to have them under the Electoral Finance Act. They're allowed to have them. They are authorised. I will table them. Here we are. This is when Maurice Williamson had a beard and he was allowed to speak. This is an example of free speech in an election campaign. No one stopped this because they did it right. They followed the rules. The National Party doesn't want to follow the rules. They want a big business to be able to buy this election campaign. Will Love failed?
Supplementary question. Order. The Honourable. Order. The Honourable Bill English.
Is the Minister not aware that it is a disgrace that the law that she passed has been described by New Zealand's Chief Electoral Commission with 2 months out from the election as, quote, "having a chilling effect on the extent and type of participation in campaign activity," and that 2 months out from an election that New Zealand's top electoral official has said, quote, "The meanings of significant sections of the legislation are obscure," which means that MPs and campaigners and lobby groups who try to comply with this ridiculous law could easily find themselves in court and in jail after the election.
The Honourable Annette King.
Madam Speaker, if it's so difficult, how did www.botheyes.open.org.nz manage to be able to work within the rules, put out pamphlets like this and not be caught by the Electoral Finance Act? They followed the rules. That is all anybody's needed to do. But of course, it's been Bill English's mission to try and spread as much misinformation about this Act as possible because they wanted to spend their millions and they weren't allowed to. It's a bad case of sour grapes.
Supplementary question. The Honourable Bill English.
Why is it that the minister now professes to a detailed knowledge of the rules when all the parties who voted for the Electoral Finance Act have been found to have breached the rules, namely the Labor Party, New Zealand First, Progressive and the Greens?
The Honourable Annette King.
Speaker, the point I was making to the member is that over and over again he has said that nobody could campaign. Nobody could get up and put out there and put up a hoarding, put out a pamphlet. It wasn't possible. Well, I'm saying to him that it is possible because we have got organisations doing that right now, and they could have been doing it from the beginning of the year. I'd say to the member that he needs to get over the sour grapes, get out there and campaign, do his best, but at the end of the day, people will remember he was Mr. Pension Cutter for the older people of New Zealand.
The supplementary question, the Honourable Bill English.
Is the minister aware that on the doorstep many New Zealanders are keen to get rid of a government who's passed a law where you have to register to have a political opinion, where the rules are so complex that many people are too scared to have a go at campaigning, and where the Chief Executive of the Electoral Commission has said that the law has a chilling effect and that meanings of the legislation are obscure, and has any minister done a worse job than her on this law?
The Honourable Annette King.
There we go. Mr. Nasty always makes it personal. Always makes it personal. Can I say to the member, I think he's lost the plot on this issue. It's his last shot on it. Why doesn't he just get over it and get out and campaign? He's been whinging and snivelling in this parliament for most of the year when he could have certainly got out and campaigned.
Point of order, the Honourable Bill English.
Madam Speaker, I think the minister referred to me personalising the issue and then went on to use some very unparliamentary and highly personalised language, and I asked that she withdraw.
Well, she may well have, but unfortunately members were shouting too much for me to hear. But if the member has in fact asked for a withdrawal, would the member please withdraw?
Madam Speaker?
Yes.
Madam Speaker, I withdraw. I think the words were whinging and snivelling, but I didn't know they were
It's all right,
unparliamentary.
you've withdrawn. Right, we've come to the end of time. Order! 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 Now, the Honourable Bill English.
Madam Speaker, the minister is a long-standing member who knows the conventions around statements of withdrawal, and I asked that she be held to those conventions.
Would the minister please withdraw and apologise and
Madam
do
Speaker,
nothing
I withdraw
else?
and apologise.
Thank you. We've come point of order. The Jerry Brownlee.
Madam Speaker, I wonder if the minister would clarify for the House if those posters are supposed to have come off lampposts and the organisation that put them there is not connected to the Labor Party, how are they in such perfect condition?
Order.
Madam Speaker,
Order! The member has asked for an explanation.
Speaking
the minister's
to the
give
point
it.
of order, Madam Speaker, with very delicate hands, one might be able to get them off the lamppost, but I can assure the member these are available anywhere around Wellington. Just go into any place and you'll find them. They'll be available for you. You can collect the whole set. There's a whole set of them. There's in fact 3 in the set. If you're really lucky, they'll give you the whole set.
Right, we've now come to the end of time for questions.